Ryanair won't refund me. Sure, I fly for free. So I booked a flight for the 24th of December to visit my grandparents. Trying to be responsible, I booked the flight 8 weeks in advance. Paid €150 for both flights, there and return. And sure, I paid at €6 for a suitcase. So all is good and I forget about the flight. Well, last week I get an email telling me that the flight time has changed. Okay, I check it, great. It departs 2 hours earlier. No worries. 3 days later. Ping. Another email, but now the flight is a day prior. Shit. I have university that day. But let me see what I can do. Contact customer service, jump trough hoops, but there is no alternative flight. Okay. While browsing I notice that the flight is now a bit cheaper, €40 cheaper. So I ask if I can get a partial refund or an upgrade for the inconvenience of the flight leaving earlier and me reshuffling my schedule. Well, nope, they insist that I can only accept the flight or cancel it fully. I hold off. Not worth the hassle, I think. Who knows how long it takes to get my money back. So after a few days I check the flight. Wow, they reduced the price. Now the asking price is €7.99, that's almost free. So I ask again, is a partial refund possible? Okay, no problem, please cancel my booking. 24 hours later they notify me the full refund has been processed. Great, now I book the flight again, for just €15 there and back. Now that's a cheap flight. The taxi to the airport costs me more. But hey, no partial refund. Update. Today they changed the departure time again, now it departs at 7 in the morning instead of 2 in the afternoon. How does an airline change the time so much and stay in business? That should be the last change. Any changes within a 14-day window will trigger your passenger rights, and you can get euro from them. This is the same airline that people in Dublin were buying €15 tickets because the airport pub was the only pub open at one point during the pandemic. Fuck their suitcase fee. When I fly Ryanair I'm walking in like Randy in A Christmas Story with 8 layers of clothing. My dad was an air traffic controller and he made me promise never to fly Ryanair. If there's any alternative carrier for the route, use them. It's just not worth saving a few quid, if you even do save anything the way they squeeze you. Good old Ryanair, even for €15 it's a wonder anyone flies with them. Someone made a good song about them though. Ryanair is the airline that tried to install pay toilets on their planes. Can you imagine the genius who thought up that brilliant scheme? What kind of a shitty airline is this? Damn, £15. That's awesome. Haven't purchased a flight in the US for less than $100 since spring break in '01. Ryanair is literally the absolute most shitty low-cost airline in Europe. They unapologetically will literally tell you that they don't care about you and your issues after they have your money. They cancelled my flight 2 days before, and took almost 3 months to finally process my refund. I will never ever use them again. I'll drive the 3,000 kilometers first. Is 24 Road the 23rd or the 24th? I've heard that Ryanair is crap, but this is a new level of shittery. I don't care how cheap their flights are, not knowing when the flight will be, is too high a price to pay. Now I don't know if you've tried locating Stansted on a map, but checking in at 5 a.m. is a fecking load of crap, cheap flights, fascinating AIDA. Ryanair is the worst. No respect for their customers, employees or authorities. I stopped traveling Ryanair the moment I could afford not to. Fuck Ryanair. They've harassed me enough. As a non-EU, they would insist I print out my boarding pass that they would stamp on. Oh, and if I forgot to print it, they charged me €50 for it. It was so pathetic that I had airport security in Gatwick print it for free cause they found it criminal that it was €50 for a boarding pass that they insisted I couldn't have a PDF version of. Now I just fly Brussels Airlines. At least they treat me like a decent human being. In this case, I don't understand the difference between Ryanair giving a partial refund of €135 and you cancelling and rebooking your flight for €15. Unless you were seeking a smaller partial refund, which doesn't make sense for you. Perhaps I don't understand. This post seems to just be taking off because everyone, rightfully, hates Ryanair. You should be aware though that a €15 round trip can never cover what it actually costs to transport you. In order for any airline to be profitable like that they need to treat and pay their employees like trash, cut corners wherever safely possible, and one of the downsides for you specifically is that you'll never know if your flight will take off at all. From their track record with your flight so far you really shouldn't be surprised if they move the flight in the very last second again and ruin your trip. Wouldn't be the first time airlines pulled the trick of offering an overnight bus charter and cancelling the flight altogether. Ryanair has ads on the overhead luggage containers and plays triumphant music when they land, presumably because they didn't crash, so I'm not sure what you expected. Edit. The mob rush for seats and people wearing all their clothes in layers to avoid inflated bag check fees are also great features. Just so you know, if I was at St. Peter's pearly gates and there was a Ryanair flight to heaven or an EasyJet flight to hell, I'm off to hell. Ryanair should be paying people to fly with them. At the rate they're moving up your flight time, you should pack up right now and head to the airport. Paid. I'm imagining Ryanair as a company operated and piloted by one man named Ryan. By now it should have changed to, it already left. Not malicious compliance until you've completed your journey. Ryanair can be foo #pound and #rs. Ryanair is a shitty company if you ask me. Ping. Your flight just departed. Thanks for flying Ryanair. When it's all over, dispute the charge with your credit card company. It'll be way below their threshold to human analysis. Now it's really a free flight. You paid it. Which bit is the malicious compliance? Ryanair. There's your problem. With all the time and date changes you might as well go to the airport now just to be safe. Update. It now leaves yesterday but at 4 in the afternoon. Sadly I will never be able to use any other company even with the shitty quality of everything if I want to fly from my country to, let's say, London. Ryanair offers me a round trip, no stops, for about €20. Meanwhile another one offers me one way with one stop for €100. Meanwhile my flight home is $2,000. Stop flying Ryanair if you give a shit about your health or your sanity. I booked a flight in US through Air Canada who put me on a United Airlines flight. These guys didn't send me a notification email saying flight changed. I got to the airport and they said my flight left 5 hours ago. It was my first time flying and never heard of flights being moved earlier. They also had the audacity to tell me to buy a new flight. Thank God I stood my ground and they squeezed me into probably a stewardess spot. Ryanair is the only airline that has ever checked the dimensions of my hand luggage just before I was about to board the plane. I remember the face of the stewardess when I crammed my half-full bag into the bag checker. Dirty policy trying to get me to pay an extra €20 for my bag. This was back in 2009. Dude, if you want to see your family, do not fly Ryanair, they will cancel your flight eventually. Better have a bag packed and ready to go, the flight could leave at any minute. I've heard some stories about problems with Ryanair, similar to sticking to their process, even where it makes little sense, but they're so cheap that it's worth the hassle. Waiting for the update on how they advanced the timing again, and how the flight actually left 2 days ago, and how there's no refund or rescheduling for flights already taken off. Newsflash. Ryanair is shit. In other news, fire hot. I had an awful experience with Ryanair. They denied me boarding once for not standing in line on time, as I joined the queue when 2 people were in front of me. According the guy who checks them boarding passes, I was late, so me and a family of 4 behind me couldn't board. Fun thing is we could still see the people who are boarding queuing still in the line in the tunnel. Just the door were closed. Never got a refund nor an apology nor a rebook. Official statement from Ryanair was, "You were late, my suspicion is that they were overbooked on that flight." I'm glad you got them back at least. Ryanair are notorious in the travel industry and are in the "do not book unless the customer has specified they don't wish to walk" category. With that said, how flight tickets are booked and handled is pretty archaic, so what might seem like a simple request isn't always. In your situation, should be a no-brainer, right? Just give money back and keep your existing ticket, but in the back end the amount of shit that needs to be done for this simple act is ridiculous and comes down to all airlines making air TNCs as hard to interpret as possible. Source. I was a travel agent for 5 years. I know Ryanair gets shit on a lot, but they saved my ass once when Continental stranded me during a layover and told me basically, tough shit, next flight is in 3 days and super expensive. The people at the Ryanair desk saw that I was upset, offered to help me find a new flight no matter which airline. They ended up being cheapest and same day and made sure I was reunited with my luggage, which had been screwed up by Continental and the cause of the whole fiasco. This was 15+ years ago. Ryanair totally sounds like a legit airline. Ryan could never compete with Larry Air. I flew Ryanair 2 months ago and I was shocked at how good of an experience it was. And on time. Shocked. How is this malicious? Seriously, you're still terribly inconvenienced and are taking a flight that screws up your schedule, albeit at a cheaper rate that was offered to anyone. You complied with every demand they made, and not maliciously.